hit record. Hello everyone, thank you for joining us for our final program in the Terrell County Virtual Lunch and Learn series. We hope you've enjoyed the series of last week and today. We will be recording this session as we have the past sessions for future viewing and for you to pass them on to other folks. At the conclusion of this program, there will be an evaluation available. It's only a few questions long, so please consider filling it out for us. Should not take too much time to complete. The link is to the evaluation is on the same page as the link was for this Zoom session. So now to our program. Today we will have Chase McCrory talking about prescribed fire. Chase is a district biologist in Terrell County with Texas Parks and Wildlife Department. He has his Firefighter 1 classification and has participated in many different prescribed fires over the years. So Chase, it is all yours.
Thank you, Jessica. Just want to start off by saying thank you and appreciate everybody who's attending today. And since there's just a few of us on the call, we can keep it pretty informal. If you have any questions, just feel free to stop me at any point and shout out your questions. Or Jessica, on your side, is there a Q&A?
Yes, board? I have a chat box that I'll keep an eye on.
Okay. Yeah. If there's any questions,
they can unmute themselves if they want to ask a question out loud.
Sure. Yeah. Just feel free to shout them out at any time. But like Jessica said, I'm the district biologist for Terrell County. My name's Chase McCrory. I wear many different hats for the department. Do a lot of different things. One of those things is I'm a firefighter for the state, and I was just upgraded from a firefighter type 2 to a firefighter type 1. Pretty excited about that. Just allows me to do some different things in the field with prescribed burning and also with wildfire. In the department, we're always ready to kind of assist with wildfires as needed, but generally we just help give technical guidance on prescribed burning in our counties and also on our wildlife management areas, the state-owned land, just as a management tool. But anyway, we'll get started. Kind of what I'm going to cover today, again, going to be kind of informal, but we're going to go over some of the laws, fire history, how can fire be good, what actually is a prescribed burn, how prescribed burns are conducted, and when it is safe to conduct those prescribed burns. I'll also go over, if anybody's interested in conducting a prescribed burn on their property, how Texas Parks and Wildlife can help out with that. Our main goal is to kind of get you set up and get a burn plan wrote, help you with a couple of those burns. We'll come in and bring in some different folks from the agency. We have a regional fire coordinator that can come out and help us write that burn plan and actually conduct the burn, and then hopefully kind of wean you off and allow you to conduct those burns on your own. So outdoor burning in Texas is regulated by TCEQ under the Air Quality Act. It was created by legislation in 1993, and they adopted the outdoor burning rules in 1996. In 1999, laws were passed creating a state prescribed burn board, creating a certified burn manager program. And then this is the most important part, is counties have the power to stop outdoor burning by enacting burn bans. What this law did is gave landowners the right to burn for the purpose of reducing hazardous fuel loads, reduce wildfires, and to use as a land management tool, even in a burn ban, as long as the proper procedures are followed. And like I said, the most important part to look at there is the county, or in Terrell County, generally 99% of the time we're in a burn ban. But if you go through the proper procedures like this is talking about, there are actually ways around that burn ban, as long as we let the county know we have a burn plan in place and we're not just out there striking matches and, when the wind's blowing 100 miles an hour and it's 100 degrees outside with zero humidity. Again, we'll talk about some of those, the criteria for burning and the process to go through if you want to burn in Terrell County a little bit later in the presentation. Some fire history and prescribed burning and vegetation management. So in Terrell County, it changed pretty rapidly from what you saw, 150, 200 years ago to what we see today. Early Texas fires were generally started by lightning. The Native Americans would light fires to recess the land and kind of get a restart for when they were growing things. And then most ecoregions, including this one, had historically more grass. So when we're talking about Terrell County, it was settled in the early 1800s, or sorry, excuse me, the late 1800s. And historically, it was severely overgrazed. A lot of people didn't understand the effects that it had compared to, say, Central Texas, where you can run a whole lot more cattle. Out here, we recommend generally running one animal unit per 100 acres, and that's just kind of a generality for the entire county. When people settled here, a couple of 100 years ago, there was lots of grass, especially on the mesa tops and on the flats. We saw a lot of grass and a whole lot less brush, and the effects of overgrazing quickly took over. As you can see, I mean, the brush is severely encroached across the county, and fire can really help reset that and restore some grasslands. As you see on this map, we're out on the far west side, and generally speaking, the land naturally burned every 15 years. That's changed a lot since we've added man to the situation and we've started suppressing that fire. But you're looking at every 15 years is on average is when the country burned. To understand fire, we need to look back in time on the fire influences. Fire's been around for thousands of years, long before modern man was here, even before some of the current plant communities we see today. So fire plays a responsible part in keeping that plant community and ecosystem going. Another benefit is suppressing, or not suppressing, but keeping the risk of wildfire down. And this is some research done in the tall timbers in Florida and Georgia. And as you can see by the graph, the more prescribed fires that were done, the less likelihood or the less wildfires actually took place. So that's a big benefit in reducing fuel load, especially around your house or in town, around towns, or even out on ranches. The effects of the wildfires are going to be much less if you prescribe burn every few years, on a rotational basis. So why don't we burn anymore? Again, every few years the land would burn on its own. But some of those reasons that have suppressed that is the increased public fear of fire. We call that the Smokey the Bear syndrome. Growing up, we all saw the signs and the commercials telling us we were the only ones that could prevent forest fire, and that's really was pounded into our head for a number of years, and that's kind of created the mindset that we have today. We lack the understanding of the role that fire plays in our ecosystem. Conflicting laws and regulations, such as burn bans. We are, a lot of times we're unsure on the laws, so it's easier just not to go down that road. And unfortunately, that 99% of the time is the reason why people don't burn, other than when they're scared to burn, they're scared of fire. Also, the liability. There's a lot of ways to mitigate that liability. We'll talk about that a little bit later as well. Urban and wildland interface, and then also smoke management. So different ways fire can be good. Fire can be a useful tool for several objectives. Can be used to remove thatch, reduce brush, and again, reduce those fire loads like we were talking about that cause severe wildfires. So what is a prescribed burn? Prescribed burning is a systematically planned application of fire to meet specific management applications. Some factors that are considered when planning and conducting a prescribed burn: what are the landowner's objectives? What is the size of the area? What are the fuel types and loads? How receptive are those fuels surrounding the burn unit? And do we have or can we make an adequate fire break? Some of the goals that we look at when we're putting prescribed fire on the ground is brush manipulation. Again, that thatch removal. We can also promote forbs or grasses, reduce wildlife or wildfire risk, restore historic fire frequency. Again, things we've all talked about already. Maintain succession, and also integrate it with other methods such as chemical or mechanical control. It's just another tool in our toolbox to help with our managing the land on our properties. So some of the different brush control types that we can, or different brush species we can control, is non-sprouting species such as ash juniper. That's the blueberry juniper. Most brush species will resprout. Fire will only top kill them, but over time, the more you burn, once you get a rotation going on your property, say you burn it every 5 to 15 years, you'll start to knock back some of that brush resprout. Every time you'll kill a little bit more. Heavy brush infestations will require an integrated approach. You may chemical treat it, mechanical treat it, or grazing pressure on it will help when you integrate that with fire. It's great for limiting brush encroachment on young plants. And the series of treatments, that's what I was talking about out here. It may not be as frequent as every 3 to 7 years. You may be looking at every 5 to 7 years on the rotation of burning. So why do we burn to manage vegetation? Again, it can help with our brush control. It can promote our forbs, which that's what our deer eat, or one of the main things that our deer eat, especially in when they're available. Promote native grasses, reduce the woody vegetation, like we talked about before. Terrell County was a lot more grassland than it is now. Improve forage quality and restore historic fire frequency again. Also burning, we're not just talking about wildlife here. We can burn, if that's one of our goals, is to manage for livestock or produce more forage for our livestock. We're just going to have to tweak the time of year that we burn and the intensity of that burn. It can help us grow more grass. Again, we can reduce that woody forage and promote more things that our cattle or sheep or goats are going to eat. So a little bit about when we want to burn. And again, this is just all depending on what your objectives are. Are we managing for wildlife? Are we managing for cattle, sheep, goats? Do we want to reduce our brush? What do we want to do? So to improve our native grasses, you're looking at a late summer, early winter burn would really be best. To kill brush, you can do it in the winter, but the best time is when we have a relatively low relative humidity, and the hotter the better. So what happens is that brush or whatever the fuel is going to be preheated by the sun during the summer, and when it's hot outside, when we light that fire, you just get a better overall burn when you're trying to kill those bigger woody fuels. To improve your forbs, your weed growth, again, that's what our deer like to eat. You want to burn in late winter or summer. Reduce exotic grasses. Again, that just really depends on what species we're talking about. And then doesn't really apply out here. There's a few places that we have some leaf litter from oaks. You want to do that in early winter. So on to the burn plan, and this is really where Parks and Wildlife can step in and really help you out. There's plenty of contractors out there. You can pay thousands of dollars to come in and help you write this burn plan and hand you a turnkey plan. But Parks and Wildlife can come out, no cost to you, and help you write this burn plan. Myself, with the assistance of our regional fire coordinator, he can kind of overlook it and come in and give suggestions to write this burn plan. So what's going to be included in this plan is the purpose of the burn, prescribed burn manager information, the burn site information. It's going to be your ranch or your property, directions how to get there, the personnel requirements for conducting the burn, a description of the area to be burned, fuel types, topography, previous treatments. That's not just limited to fire, any brush control that's been done on the property, number of acres to be burned, etc. Pre-burn factors, fire guards, pumpers, crew size, tools and equipment, weather monitors, smoke sensitive areas, and special precautions, and etc. So this is basically going to lay out everything we need to know about your property, and from the time we get there until the time we wrap up the burn, what we need to know. And always the most important thing is safety and a contingency plan. It'll be written into the burn plan, mitigating basically mitigating all of the different factors, like different things that might happen, all the risks that are involved. We'll try to do our best to mitigate those, and but we always want to have a backup plan and all our safeguards in place just in case. That basically just goes over again. It's what's in the burn plan is going to be specially tailored for each ranch and to fit that ranch's objectives. So really and truly, like I talked about before, our goal is to come in and help you with the burn plan, get you excited about fire, and show you that there's really nothing to it. And if you stick to that burn plan, 99.9% of the time, we can mitigate all risks involved. And we want to make you feel comfortable where you can do this by yourself. Now in Terrell County, I'd say 9 times out of 10, I can be there to help with it. But we want you to be comfortable doing this, and talking about equipment involved. It's very minimal. You can conduct a fairly large burn with very little equipment. You don't necessarily need a fire engine standing by just in case. If you go through all the procedures of the burn plan and making sure your weather's right and so on and so forth, there should be no reason why you can't conduct a burn with just these few simple things. Your burn plan in hand, radios to get contact with everybody on the fire, the ability to spray water, and that can be as simple as a backpack pump or a little small agriculture sprayer that you can throw on the back of an ATV or in a UTV. Some drip torches, wearing good cotton clothing, blue jeans, and a long sleeve cotton shirt work best. If you don't want to invest in Nomex, we as firefighters, as you can see in that picture, the green and yellow clothes that some of those guys are wearing, that's Nomex. It's not necessary, but if you're going to be conducting a lot of burns, it's something you may want to invest in. And you always want to use good judgment or experience. At any time, anybody can call off a fire at any time. If they feel uncomfortable, just remember that. So the landowner's assistance, again, while we're writing this burn plan up, it's going to be a lot of information from you. What we need is you're the property expert, so you tell us, what your goals, where things are, different hazards, who your neighbors are. We're going to have a problem with one of your neighbors. Are they extremely scared of fire? whether they are or not, that's one thing we want to do before we drop that match and light a fire. You know, we want to notify all the neighbors and make sure they're aware that we're going to be conducting that fire that day. And the more you can assist us with, the better the plan is going to be. So up next, I have a few examples here, and this is what we're kind of talking about. Say, if this is your property, this is kind of what we need. We're going to get a wind direction, the best wind direction to burn in. As you can see, there's a highway or a road coming through this map. The different neighbors and the different water sources on here, and we're going to take that all into consideration when we're writing this burn plan. Again, just another map. We're going to have maps like this, topographical maps of your ranch when we write this burn plan for the day of. As you can tell, one of the circles here is a sensitive area that, you know, we don't want to burn down your house or your neighbor's house. So we need to be sure and be able to hold that area at all costs. We have a water source there we can go to and get water. Some other houses, another sensitive area, and then the wind direction, what the predominant wind direction is for that area and the time of year, depending on our goals and when we're going to burn. Next, this is kind of a diagram of a prescribed burn. You want to keep the wind in your face. It's to keep the smoke away from you. If anybody's interested to look at this a little bit further, I can share this presentation with Jessica, and she can forward it on to anybody who wants it. But again, this is kind of the anatomy of a prescribed burn. They're using this creek here as a natural fire break. Also, the road that's at the top of the screen can be used as a fire break, and you can tell this fire is backing into the wind. So those are some of the things on a lot of fires. Considering what the goals are, that's really what we want. And they're building this number 2. It says black line. They're building that black line. That's always going to be our safety zone. If you need to get away from the fire, you can always step into that black to get away from it. And that's not our only safety zone we want to keep in mind. It's a big part of the safety and contingency plans is to set our safety zones. Where can we get away from the fire? You know, if things do go south, where can we get away from the fire? Like I mentioned before, you want to keep the wind in your face. That keeps the smoke away from you. And we want different intensity of fire depending on our goals. Again, as you can tell, this prescribed fire stuff is all goal oriented, you know. So factors that determine the fire's intensity are going to be the fuel quantity, and the air temperature, relative humidity, wind speed, soil moisture, and direction of the flame front movement relative to the wind. We already kind of talked about when to burn. We'll skip that. So I want to talk about a few of the differences in wildfire and prescribed fire. Wildfires tend to occur with high winds, low relative humidities, high fuel loads, and when no one's around. Also occur during drought when we face historic fire conditions. And these tend to be the fires that we see on TV, and we remember the bad ones. So just a picture of what a lot of us think of when we think about wildfires, the destruction. Here's a home that was burned up by a wildfire. You can see all the tall trees around it. And my guess is there is just a ton of fuel load in this area. And when that wildfire came through, that house burning could have been mitigated by simply removing those fuels from around the house, or possibly doing some prescribed burning before to reduce that fuel load, and it could have saved that house. Here's a fire from Amarillo, Texas. They called it the Mallard Fire. It was a 30,000 acre wildfire in Amarillo, Texas back in 2018. Some of you may remember this. I'm sure it made the news. It was a really big one. again, this is the type of fires that we tend to remember and make us scared of fire. Some of this could have been mitigated again by doing some prescribed fire to reduce those fuel loads prior to these crazy fire conditions. These are the conditions that it was under. It was 30-mile-an-hour winds with the relative humidities ranging from 9 to 13% for 6 days straight. So that's what caused this fire to be so erratic. And again, this is just another picture of a wildfire from out here from, I believe it was 2 years ago. This was down by Black Gap Wildlife Management Area. And again, they just had some really crazy conditions. This was started by a lightning strike. And thankfully, this was in an area that it probably, well, I know not probably, it really helped the area and created some succession there for those plants to grow back healthier. So there's a lot of learning opportunities out there. If we've kind of sparked your interest today, again, you can always call Texas Parks and Wildlife. You can call me. Jessica can share my information at the end of this presentation, or if you want more information, just get a hold of her. But the learning opportunities, we put on multiple prescribed burning workshops every year. And if that's something that you're interested in, we can definitely put one on out here. We've done a couple in the past. Out here, prescribed burning associations really are far and few out here, but prescribed burning associations, say in the hill country, there's several where people get together, say 10 people get together with 10 different ranches, and we'll say, okay, we'll burn, a ranch a day, and you get together and take turns helping each other burn your ranches. Again, TPWD and the NRCS have professionals available to assist you. Again, both of the NRCS and TPWD want to kind of help you get involved and get set up and get you to where you're comfortable, where you can do these prescribed burns on your own. So access to equipment is becoming more available to landowners. Again, the amount of equipment needed to conduct these prescribed burns are pretty minimal. If you have a tractor, great, that can be a great tool. But if not, a simple lawnmower to create some lines, some drip torches, the cost is pretty minimal. And that's another thing that I didn't really address earlier, is the cost of prescribed fire is next to, say, chemical or mechanical control, is a whole lot more affordable per acre when you compare the 2 or 3 different brush control methods that are generally used out here. This is a website right here if you're interested. Again, you may write down this website. It's through TICC. This is actually Texas. Let's see. Sorry about that. These folks put on several different fire classes a year. You can go get certified. They have some entry-level classes if you're interested, and you can even past entry-level classes. It's not necessary, but if you're really interested in fire, it's something that you can get involved in and go take some classes. And lastly, a lot of people have questions about liability. So yes, at the end of the day, you as a landowner are liable, but with the burn plan, we can really mitigate 99.9% of the risk. Not to say that, absolutely nothing's going to go wrong, but we can really do our best, and we're pretty confident that if we stick to that burn plan, watch the weather, go through all the proper procedures, we can mitigate, just about all the risk. But if you're still worried about that, you can, it's not cheap, but you can always hire a prescribed burn manager. There's several different places around the state. I know a couple out of San Angelo that'll come out and help you burn. And a lot of people don't know, typically homeowners insurance or ranch insurance typically has a clause in there, and check with your insurance agent and see, but typically I think it allows for a burn or two a year, and that's actually covered under your insurance. So you may check with them to see, make sure before you go and start that fire. But typically, your insurance will cover up to so much damage, just in case. Again, you want to develop that burn plan. Again, we talked about the insurance there, and there's other insurance out there available just for prescribed burns that you can purchase prior to that burn. That's something I don't think that you have to keep year round. Just prior to that burn, you can buy the insurance for a month and then let it go after you've conducted that prescribed burn. Prescribed burning is safe. I want to stress that again, as long as we follow all the procedures, it can be safe. Is there any questions?
I don't see anything in the chat box.
I know that was no pun intended, but I know that was kind of like taking a drink out of a fire hose. A lot of information there. Again, I'm available to any questions if you think of any later. Again, if Jessica will share my contact information once you post this video, I'll be happy to answer any questions or get you in contact with. If I can't answer your questions, we'll figure it out, get you in contact with the right folks, or I'll figure out the answer to your question for you.
All right. Well, thank y'all for attending our Terrell County Virtual Lunch and Learn series. Just a reminder about filling out the evaluation. Again, it can be found on the same page as the Zoom link for this session under events on the Terrell County AgriLife page or under the virtual programs tab. And thank you to Chase for his presentation. If you have missed any previous sessions, please visit our Terrell County AgriLife page and click the virtual programs tab. There you will find the links to the recordings and evaluations. Thank you again for attending our program.